Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to Future Proof, the podcast where we're decoding how leaders, founders, and execs are changing the business landscape using AI, data, and automation. So if you're looking to future-proof your business, you're definitely in the right place. And before we jump into today's episode, as we always do, if you're just looking to figure out where to start with AI, you want to talk about how we might be able to help or steer you in the right direction. There's links to book a 30-minute call with us in the show notes. Happy to help. Just jump on a call with us. But let's jump into today's episode. I'm joined today by Rajesh Nair, the CTO from Pivot Systems. Rajesh, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brent.
Yeah. So as we always do, let's start with your background, right? Leader's journey, and talk to us about, your leading up to your role at Pivot Systems.
Yeah, well, I kind of grew up with computers. I did my bachelor's in engineering, computer science, and then master's in engineering and MBA from San Jose State. Been working in Silicon Valley for almost all my career, 30 plus years. Lately, I founded a company called Teliads and sold it. And then after that, I came to Pivot Systems as Chief Technology Officer in this position for almost 7 years now. And my specialization is artificial intelligence. I've been working with text-to-speech, speech-to-text kind of applications like 15 years ago. Probably from 2017, going into machine learning models, building them, fine-tuning them. And lately, a lot of applications in generative artificial intelligence. Now, it is action models taking what you have generated and acting on it. That's where we are right now.
Wow. No, it's fantastic. So then now tell us about Pivot Systems, Rajesh. Tell us about what you guys do. Well, for the audience, and tell them kind of what you guys focus on.
Sure. Pivot Systems started in 1997. It's a software development outsourcing company based in Silicon Valley, San Jose, California. We have locations all over the world, development centers. And since we are an old company, we started with enterprise applications, then taking the applications onto the cloud. Then a lot of development happening in artificial intelligence again, a little bit of robotics as well. So that's where our specialization is. And we have about 70 customers, and almost 48 of them right now is doing something in artificial intelligence.
That's fantastic, right? So before we get into the types of stuff that you do, let's talk about what, some of well, actually, let's do that first, and then we'll get into what you're seeing in the industry. Well, just to give some sampling of what you guys kind of AI projects that you're working on. Can you just kind of give a couple sample, high level
Sure.
of the types of work you're doing?
So in case of business applications, like we have transformed all our software development itself into AI, bring almost 42% of productivity. That means like we can do the same work with a whole lot less engineers, and that's happening all across the industry. That's why you see the large corporations laying off a lot of developers, because AI models can't write code, then why you need people like that. So that also gives us an opportunity to retrain. And in terms of, like, I can talk about probably dozens of interesting applications we have done using machine learning models and generating. Many areas where it is transforming is you can create predictive models and classifications, and of course generative models. For example, for an airline, a model could predict when the flight is going to land within an accuracy of 2 minutes. That's something we have done, as opposed to earlier people were estimating like 20 minutes, right?
Right.
Let's say, you take it for hundreds of flights every day. We can save millions of dollars in logistic cost using this kind of models, just to give you an example.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, right? And there's some of the things that, if you're sitting here and you're founder or CEO and you're thinking, all right, where can I move the needle a little bit, right? There's things like that really, if you start to break it down, are very, very exciting, right? Use cases to go to try to tackle. And Rajesh, tell me what you're seeing right, in the industry as AI is starting to make an impact, right? And we're starting to see it. But talk to me about what you're seeing, both short term and long term.
So, in terms of AI, part of my job is to tell people what it can do and what it cannot, because some executives think that a lot of things can be done which it cannot. And in terms of transforming, the cost is one of the challenges right now. For example, if you want to build a know, uh, what do you call avatar model to generate video and all, it's very expensive, and unless you have a very high margin, because it cannot do that. And in terms of AI transforming our lifestyle as well as the jobs, if you look at humankind, there are some, I would say, 15-year period that changed the entire lifestyle. If you look at some of the pictures of New York downtown back in 1900, you will see all horse-driven cars and no cars. But fast forward to 1915, all cars were replaced with cars. Same thing in 1995. There were very few homes with internet, uh, computers, and mobile phones. Right. Fast forward to 2010, almost every home they have internet, computer, and smartphone. So that's kind of a transformation going to happen in the next 15 years using artificial intelligence. I believe, transportation will change completely because, I can get in front of my house, a drone will come and pick me up and drop at the next airport if I want to travel long term. And drones can travel in straight line to the saving time and fuel. So that is going to change the transportation completely. And I know there are skeptics. I remember when I was studying at College of Engineering Trivandrum in India, one of the pioneer engineering institute in 1986, our professor said it will be difficult to find a printed copy of a New York Times, 10 to 15 years from now. And at that time, people asked, one of the, students asked, how can people read news on a monochrome monitor without any pictures, right? So, yes, you have to think beyond that. So the transportation is one area it is going to completely change. And another thing is humanoid robot, either humanoid or not, it can replace, physical labor. Right now, all impact on artificial intelligence is on the brain activities, right? Anything you can intellectual kind of work that can be easily replaced with large language models and large vision models and all. But once the physical labor is changed, there are, I would say, 1 billion workers on Earth, and they're spending 8 billion hours a day. Robots can actually work 4 times of humans, doesn't need much rest, right? So you can replace 1 billion labor force with 250 million robots, which can be done. If you look at, there are 1.5 billion cars on the planet.
It can,
Are you
and
there?
they don't sleep, right?
Yeah. So replacing 1 billion labor force, it's going to take. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in 15 years, but that's definitely going to happen. So I don't know, like at that time, how people are going to work on different areas. That is something we need to. That's beyond my imagination. Like I said, the long term AI is going to transform every industry. Of course, you can think of you're walking into a restaurant and the chef, which is a robot, knows all cuisine. So you don't have to. You can order a food plate with Italian, Mexican, Indian, Thai, Chinese,
Right.
everything on it because the chef knows every cuisine and every recipe in the world like that. The doctors can be replaced with robots, and lawyers even now appear on depositions over video, right? Just
Right.
imagine a good lawyer using his avatar or her avatar to interact over video to the judge and present the case. And the judge or anybody in the courtroom is not able to distinguish whether it is a real person or an avatar speaking. And the same judge can, same attorney can appear in 50 different cases at the same time,
Right.
like that. Yeah. So a lot of this can be replaced. Whatever people doing job, especially the knowledge work, it can be easily replaced. Beyond that, that's when I said the labor force, when that is going to be replaced, like 1 billion people working 8 hours a day, going to be, it can be replaced in theory at least by about 250 million humanoid robots working on it. A majority of that jobs. Just imagine you walking into a salon, and the robot hairstylist is asking what kind of hairstyle you want. There is something trending in Argentina today. Do you want that? Or there is something in Slovakia. You get a lot of choices, right? Because this particular machine model knows everything, whatever is happening in the world, what is getting
Right.
popular,
It's going
what
to
is
know everything.
yeah, it's everything. So this, I mean, we are imagining a lot of things that can happen, right? And many things could be even beyond our imagination. So this kind of scary. Now, how it's going to play out, we don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, so let's bring it back to when you're talking to one of your clients, right? And you're talking to whether it's their head of technology, right? Or their CEO, and you're talking about, some of the use cases that you're working with them. Are they talking about like their roadmap of implementing AI? Because what I'm hearing a lot is that there's not an overall there's a lot of lack of strategy right now. It's, hey, let's go to attack a use case here or a use case there. What are you seeing on the ground, Rajesh, with some of your clients? Do you see it all across the board, or do you see some really thought out AI strategies at this point?
This is a very interesting question. Honestly, all companies, they want to do something with AI because that is the trend right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to talk to their investors, that shareholders, that we are doing something,
Right,
right?
something, right.
Yeah, and many of these clients, they don't know what they want to do, right? So the main challenge, so I tell them that if you want to invest, make sure that there is a return on investment, because right now I would say almost 82%. Some studies says that the projects where people are investing on AI are returning in no value.
Right,
So we don't want. So it's a place where a lot of projects development go to die without any return.
right.
So that's the first thing I would suggest, that create a strategy where you decide what you want to do, what your accomplishment is, and how much. Start with your return on investment calculation where you want to do it. Just to give you an example, one of the mortgage companies we have been working with, they wanted to build video avatars for talking to potential clients.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Typical, especially low margin mortgage company, they might make $50 from a potential customer as a month, something like that. And if you are spending, $200 for a video model for a live chat with the customer, that's not going to be profitable. So, uh, once you qualify the customer and there is a good chance that this person is going to convert or is actually a customer, then it makes sense to put a model where it knows everything about the customer, everything about the market, way beyond what a broker can imagine. That's when there is a positive return on investment like that. So that's the calculation I would start with. And in terms of formulating a strategy, you have to see which industries are changing fast. For example, you look at protein design or drug discovery. Those are a lot of repetitive processes. This can be easily replaced with machines, and they are a very high margin business, high knowledge. A person cannot learn everything, right? But a machine can. That's a big advantage. And inferencing also like that. Somebody with 10 years or 15 years of experience versus 1,000 years of experience or more with a machine model. There is
Yeah.
no comparison.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and you're kind of reiterating kind of what we're hearing as well, and I don't think most founders know about the 82%, right? That lack ROI. We try to hit that pretty hard here, and just be thoughtful, be mindful, and model what the 18 to 20% of people that are doing it right model what they're doing, right? Whereas the impact assessment, right, up front, the what moves the needle, and then what it takes to be successful of implementing it. I love what your team is doing. And if you had some advice for fellow CTOs out there, or founders that are thinking about tackling something with AI, right? What would your advice be?
I would start with employee productivity, where software development itself, half of it can be saved with copilots and things like that.
Yeah.
then testing, validation, those areas. So internal uh, is something. Then sales and marketing, a lot of that can be automated with and not sales per se, because in sales you need human touch to make deals. But whereas marketing and materials and customer support, a lot of this, I would say 90% of customer support can be automated. A person with say 5 or 10 years of tech support experience may not have experienced all the cases, right? Whereas a machine model can learn all the previous use cases where
You
the,
like
the, the
that?
service request came in and solve it. I can say that an average where people are involved for a customer service case, it might take 2 or 3 days to close the case, whereas a machine model can close that in probably 3 or 4 minutes. And you multiply that to the entire workforce, it's a tremendous saving. That's where I would actually start in the customer support areas, marketing areas, software development, testing,
Yep.
and all those, the knowledge areas.
Yeah. Yeah. And the use cases that you're talking about to me all make sense. Are you thinking that AI is a top down strategy, the right approach, top down strategy, right at the board level or the C suite level, a bottom up, or kind of them converging and you do both, right? Because I think one of the things that's happening is you have a lot of, to your point, they're playing with Copilot, they're playing with some of these other things at the bottom up approach, right? But the disjointed and lack of top down strategy at this point is probably hurting some organizations, right? And I think a lot of folks are thinking, how do I tackle tech debt, and should I tackle tech debt, right? It's opening up questions that a lot of and leaders are grappling with, right? How do
Yeah,
you
you
how
brought
do
up
you
a
see it?
really valid point. I'm seeing that in many customers, like where the team members at the lower level are trying to employ AI with no direction from the top. That's a very bad approach. So you said whatever you said is extremely important. I would say at this time, every company should have a chief AI officer working for them,
Yes.
building the long-term roadmap. I would say 3 to 5 years of roadmap. That's where we should start with, especially if a company is not into AI at this time. Just start with hire somebody who is seasoned and senior enough to chart out a strategy for next 3 to 5 years, and then bring in people to implement them rather than letting everybody go here and there, try to do something, and there is no coordination. And people at the executive level, they have no idea what this AI is. Like
Right.
they all
Or what it
just
can do, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So since they don't know, what they tend to do is they just go and fund and approve every project. Yeah, it's AI, just throw money at it, and then end of the day they're losing all that investment. So yeah, you have a very valid point. That's what I would advise any company starting with getting into AI or already working in it. Just have somebody seasoned at top, the chief AI officer or something like that, and to create a strategy, make sure that they understand what they are doing, right? Then one of the challenges with these companies is there is a lot of resistance in implementing AI, especially people thinking that they might lose their jobs if the projects are going to be successful.
Yep.
So there has to be some good training and awareness created among employees before making any drastic transformations. If you don't do that, there will be a lot of resistance coming from all areas, which that's not going to be good.
Yeah. I totally agree. Totally agree. One last question I'd like to ask you is because I know it's near and dear to a lot of founders and CTOs, CIOs are asking the question is, how do I protect my intellectual IP and my data, right? When I need to leverage these models, and how would you answer that?
Sure. Large language model, especially, is the closed ones. And if you send data, you're actually training their models. Like whatever data you're sending, they are
Right.
going to have it. And typically, for any private data, if I want to request a company to remove it, all I have to give them is my name details, and they can practically do it. They can go and search and delete all the data that is pertaining to me. But in AI world, the data is not stored as, the plain old tables and columns, right? These are vectorized and saved. There is no way to go and really look at that data exactly like that. So removing is kind of very difficult or even impossible to do. That means that if you have any private data, proprietary data, you should never send it to a public model, right? Then what can you do? Yeah, of course, you can host private open source models like the Llama of the world internally in your private cloud. Then you can use that models to train, either fine tune with your data or use RAG, kind of retrieval augmented generation, like that. And lately there is something called model context protocol, where you can have multi-agent strategy. You can use one LLM or one model to, it can be multi-model this thing to generate data. Then you can use another model to enhance it, a third model to cross check it. A lot of this thing can happen. In fact, we should do that because of the hallucination, right? You use one LLM to generate something, it may not be accurate. So you ask
It
another
reduces the
LLM to validate.
hallucinations, right?
Yes, another the model to validate it. That's one good way of doing it. So I would use a 3-model approach, where the first model generating it, and second model enhancing it, and third model validating it. So you have to use kind of a lang chain or a lang graph or a MCP model to build your solution to be safe and accurate.
Yeah.
So again, going back to your point, of course, never use the closed models. Don't send your private data to train those models. Even though no harm in it, looking from outside, when one of your competitors query that thing, your proprietary data might show up in their responses, right? You don't want that.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think this is where you're going to start to see companies, once they understand this, Rajesh, they're going to start. I had this conversation with someone the other day about building what, instead of large language models, small language models, right? In and around the company itself, leveraging large language models for pieces of it, but that brain within the company could be what I call a small language model. It's probably not the right term, but you're going to see this evolve, I think, where that's how you're going to have to leverage, and that's going to be part of the strategy.
Yeah, so let's call it machine model, not a large language model. Is just you're taking about 52,000 words in English language and creating a text only
Right.
LLM, large language model, right, to generate text. But machine learning is way beyond that. So we can have machine models, and lately multi-model, right? The same model can generate text as well as images and videos, like that. So multi-model. So it's a lot expensive to build a model, but at the same time, there are plenty of, if you look at, Hugging Face, there is almost 1.8 million models available, right? And you can take one of the open source models, multi-model models, and then there is something called reinforcement learning. So you can use your data to retrain that already available model, and it's very cost effective. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. So that's what I would recommend, because you need that. All the public large language models, even open source, they are trained with public data, right?
Right.
But the useful data is not public.
Right. The useful data is not public, right?
Not public. They are sitting in some enterprise database. You need to have these machine models, which is open source, taken inside, and then reinforcement learning with your proprietary enterprise data. Then you can do a lot of useful things with it. That's where the companies should be focusing their efforts and strategy on.
I agree. Yes, this has been really, really insightful. I think our audience is getting a lot out of this, because we don't always look at it from the same lens. A lot of times when we have, when we're talking to the founders and the CEOs, they're thinking about revenue generation and marketing and sales. What you're talking about is a holistic view and the right way to be thinking about the strategy and the implementation, right? And then some of the options that are out there that people just don't know yet, right? And so I think what you laid out here is going to give a lot of people food for thought. So thank you for sharing this. Tell everybody how to get in touch with you guys at Pivot Systems.
Yeah, you can. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Rajesh Nair. So you just look up Pivot Systems. You can message me there, or you can email me, rajesh@pivotsys.com.
Yeah, and we'll put the links right in the show notes. But Rajesh, thank you for sharing today. Thank you for spending time with us. And man, I look forward to seeing what you guys do for some of your clients going forward, because I think you're right on the doorstep of where people need to be and how they need to be thinking about it.
Thanks, Pant. Thank you a lot. In fact, I'll be very happy to come back again, after because this is a very evolving field
Yes.
and rapidly changing. So there is new news every day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll have you back in a couple months and just do a check-in. Absolutely.
Exactly. It's going to be like a lot more. It's just the transformation happening is, taking speed.
At breakneck speed, right.
Yeah, that's really, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Rajesh. And guys, this is exactly why you need to be, listening every day, because we're bringing guests like Rajesh on, and they're sharing insights on how to not only think about AI, but some of the use cases that you need to be, putting into your overall strategy. And then obviously for us, it's always about the overall strategy and making it much more cohesive than it's being done today. So that wraps up this episode of Future Proof, and we'll see you on tomorrow's episode. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.